Hey folks, welcome out there. I'm Ernie Roberts. I'm your host for TNLearn's Mathline Summer School Style. We are in summer school, summer sessions. We are having fun throughout the weeks. I hope you've been tuning in with us. If you haven't, you're tuning in today for the first time. Usually we have call-in shows during the week, but not this week. We'll resume those on August the 8th. That's coming back with school starting, all the great fall season. Believe it or not, August is now fall, you know that? The new fall, I guess we can call it. But anyway, you out there today, get you a pencil, get some paper, maybe I would definitely say get a calculator, and let's do some math, all right? Topic of the day, what have we got going today, guys? What have we got out there? Very interesting indeed. Indeed. Ooh, interest. That's what the story is about today. Notice that play on the word interest. We have interesting. I think it will be. But this is about your money. This is about your money. How you invest at a certain percent, what we would get as a result over a certain period of time is called interest, all right? So let's take a look at some problems that involve our interest today, all right? And hopefully we'll pique your interest. It's all about simple interest, by the way. There's a word called compound interest. That's another show. That's another topic. We won't go there today, all right? But for what we're looking at here is just simple interest. And it's a formula. It is done by using a formula. The formula, many of us have heard, is I equals PRT. I equals PRT. Stands for principal, rate, and time, all right? And by the way, that time is going to be in years. That's the number of years. So when I'm using, for example, this problem says how much simple interest is earned by investing $2,000, that's an important number. 4 years, another important number, and 5%. So you say, well, Ernie, what do those things represent? This is the principal, how much we put in. The 4 years, that's the time, all right? And notice it's in years, so we're just going to use the number 4. It's going to be very simple. And at a 5% return, that's a rate. That is our rate. Now, see, Ernie, did we put a 5 in there for that? No, we will change that percent to a decimal. And then the formula here says principal times the rate times the time. All three elements working together. Now, I said use a calculator with it because some of these numbers are not going to always be pretty, all right? So you have a calculator close by. We will resort to ours when we need to. But first of all, what I like for us to do when we're given numbers is to figure out where to put them. Where do we put them? What are they about, all right? And we are looking for interest. How much simple interest right there? So you're looking for the I, all right? You're going to have P given, R given, T given. Let's rock and roll. Let's see what happens. So we've got I, which is interest, equals to, let's take that $2,000, all right? And we're going to multiply. It's a big multiplication symbol. It's kind of splotchy. We'll make it even prettier. We're going to multiply that times, not 5, as I said, but the rate is going to be, and be sure you put that decimal in front with the 0 between the 5 and the decimal. That's 5/100ths. That's 5 out of 100. Remember, percent is written as 5 over 100. That's the decimal form. 0.5. Be sure that 0 gets in there. That says 5/100ths with a th on the end. Now, time, how many years? How many years? Well, we got 4 of them here. We got 4, all right? And, you know, at this point, it's just pure multiplication. Remember, you can do commutative property. You can move this around if you want to multiply things differently. With a graphing calculator or our regular calculators here, I think you can pretty much about multiply any 3 numbers together. So let's just take them as they come. Let's go with it. 2,000, that's our principal. There we go. Got it? Everybody press that in. Times, let's put in that 5/100ths. That 0, be sure that 0 gets in there, because if you don't put that in there, you're going to have a lot of interest that no one's going to pay you. No one will pay you if you do it wrong. Now, we only get paid one time, by the way, on simple interest, all right? That's the whole idea. So at the end of 4 years, we're going to finally get a pay. We're going to pay off, all right? And we're going to see what they're going to give us. According to this, it's going to be about $400. Not bad, not bad, not bad. So there's your interest. Now you say, Ernie, what does that mean? It's dollars. It's dollars, all right? What that tells us is we'll get $400 plus that $2,000 we invested, so we really have $2,400 in our account. But that's the interest. The interest is the extra money that you get paid by the bank or buy a stock market or whatever. I don't think many banks are going to pay you 5% interest right now in these days. It may be a long time before we see them paying us 5% interest. But you will see that some of your stock returns or special mutual fund accounts, other investment type properties and stuff. So 5% is not out of the question. It can be done. It can be done. It's a nice, kind of nice number in many respects, although numbers bigger than 5% or better, right? Yes. Let's take a look at our next problem here. How much simple interest? Once again, we're back to the I, and we're going to equal to PRT, principal, rate, and time. And they all get multiplied together, so we call it PRT. I don't know if you want to call it PERT or not. You need an E maybe in there, but this is just PRT, principal times the rate times the time. This is simple interest today, folks, so I will repeat that over and over because some of you are going like, oh, what happens when you do compound interest? That, as I said, will be another show. But we've got an investment again, this time of $2,000. And we've got it at 5% again. But our time this time is different. And notice it's 6 months. Now 6 years, 6 months. Some of you are going like, ooh, what are we going to do with that? I'm going to tell you. But I want you to think about it for a minute. And again, we've dealt with this 5% before. We're going to come back and use it again. So let's see. Notice, I'm going to tell you something about time is one of your best friends. If you want to make money, you got to give it some time a lot of times. Time will be a lot of word time going in there. Time is just your best friend when you're trying to earn money, especially if it's a positive growth time. Now, if it's going in a negative direction, time is your worst enemy because it's eating away your money. But this is allowing it to grow, grow, grow. But we're going to look at it as simple interest, a one-time payment, all right? You're going to keep it in there for 6 months. It is $2,000. So let's plug in. Let's substitute the numbers that we've got here. We got a $2,000 going in for our principal. We've done that before, yeah. And I'm going to use parentheses this time. Sometimes you use the time symbol. I like the parentheses. And we're going to multiply that by, again, 5/100ths. Remember, that's a 0 between the 5 and the decimal. Don't put 0.5 or 5/10ths. That will be a problem. It'll be a big problem. Now, our last thing is, what are we going to do? What are we going to do with 6 months? Now, time is based on years. What we got to do is figure out what part of a year is 6 months. Well, it's 1/2 of a year. So that, dear friends, means you're not going to get 6 times that. Boy, that would be great interest, but that would be what you get in 6 years. This is 6 months, which is equivalent to a 1/2 of a year. So that can be 5/10ths if you wish to use it as a decimal. Let's just use it as we're going to divide by 2. Let's see, clear off our last problem. How about it? Let's go to the numbers. We got 2,000. Actually, I could have left them up there because we're only changing one thing, aren't we? All right, so let's put it in there anyway. 2,000 times, remember, we're going to put 5/100ths. So make sure that decimal goes in the right place. It's 0.5, not just 5. And we're going to multiply one more time. Ooh, what is a decimal? How about 5/10ths? That is a 1/2. That is what a 1/2 is. So let's put that in there and see what we get. Ooh, not nearly as much money as we got the last time, was it, dear friends? Wow. Time, remember I said, is your best friend. $50? $50 interest. Because you didn't leave it in there very long. You left it in there for, wow, 1/2 a year. When you're investing, you're looking usually to try to make money over the long run. If you find something that goes in there doubling your money, get it in there and get it out quick because it's not going to last forever, I guarantee you. Money only does so well for so long, it seems like. It comes in trends, patterns, and such. So you play it and watch it closely, but steady growth is a good thing, good thing. For 1/2 a month, that's not much growth, all right? Got to let it stay in there for a while. Got to let it stay in there for a while. Let's take a look at this next problem here. It says, which investment will earn more simple interest after 3 years? So again, we're going to look at if we put $3,000 in at 4% and we leave it in there for 3 years and finally say we're going to get interest, all right? That's what simple interest is about, by the way. At the end of 3 years, you'll be paid your interest, all right? You don't get it year at a time, then we'd be compounding, all right? So we're going to wait until it's all done and get it one simple payment, all right? And we're going to also look at this one, $2,500 at 6%, a little bit higher rate, same period of time. Now the question is, which is going to earn more simple interest? In this case, our time is the same, so time is kind of immaterial here. It's 3 years. What's important is to notice how are these rates going to work, all right? So let's do it. We're going to use, first of all, our first one. Again, principal times rate times time. Let's go ahead and put our numbers in. And this one, we're going to have 3,000. We're going to multiply that by 400ths. Remember, we move that decimal in 2 places. So you're going to have a 0 between your 4 and the decimal point, so 400ths. And remember, we're doing it for 3. We're going to multiply by 3. All right, let's go ahead and figure that one out. Let's put our interest out. Let's see where it's going to go. It's going to give us a calculator moment here in just a second. All right, let's go to the calculator, guys. How about it? 3,000 times, and this time, remember, it's 4%. So it's going to be the decimal, put that 0 between the 4 and the decimal. And we're going to multiply it out by 3. Multiply by 3. Everybody doing that? 360. Well, that's not bad. Pretty decent money. So that means you have basically $3,360 at the end of 3 years. And you know what? You didn't have to work to make that 360. The bank or the account or whatever grew for you. Now let's go to the other side here. A little less money to start with, but we're still going to use the same formula. Principal times the rate times the time. All right, so we got our I. This time we've got 2,500 popping into the picture. And again, careful with the decimal. You'll really get a big growth if you don't put that decimal 0.6 like it's supposed to be. Put the 0 between it, 600ths. And again, we're going to go for 3 years. So we'll clear this other little guy out here. And let's see what 2,500 is going to do for us growth-wise. Put our $2,500 in there, which I said is a little less to start with. But let's see if that rate is going to be a friend to us. It's a higher percentage rate. That's always a nice thought, usually. Let's see, times 3. Y'all ready? Drum rolling out there. Let's see what we get. Whoa! 450. So this time, you started with less money, same time, but that higher interest rate took care of it. All right? So you always look for high interest rates. You want to get the high interest rates to pay you because that's an important thing. All right? Also, time, as I said, leave it in there for a bit of time. If we'd only done this for 1 year, we would have a third. This would be 150. And the same thing over here, if we left it in for 1 year, it would be 120. So again, time makes you money. And by the way, what would be our total? Just curious. Over here, we said it would be 3,360. Over here, it looks like it would be $2,950. Now, you say, well, Ernie, does that make a difference? The difference is you earned more money here that you didn't have to work for, all right? So that's a nice deal, okay? So always check your percents, always check your rates, and also think about how long do you want to leave that investment in. Those are two very important factors that will determine how well that money works. And then sometimes you may wonder, how much money do I need to invest? So let's take a look at our next problem. That's exactly what this is about. How much money should you invest for 1 year? All right, we're going to do simple interest again. 1 year annual interest at a 5% rate of return. By the way, when we see these percent rates, they are our annual rates. All right, that's what you're expecting to get on average per year. Now, rate of return to earn, we want $600 in simple interest. It's a mouthful. It's a lot of reading there, isn't it? But the key thing is, what are we looking for? We're looking for principal. We're looking for principal. You know interest already. Right there it is. That's your interest. You know your rate. You know your time. That's what you're looking for, is what's P. So let's put it in there. Formula. Time to put the formula in. I equals principal times rate times time. All right? And this time our T is 1. That's easy. We don't worry about it, okay? That's why you'll probably not see me put a 1 in there, and just remember, it's just understood that it's going in there. But here we go. 600. 600 is our interest. We do not know the principal. I'm going to put P in there for it right now. But we do know the rate is going to be that 5% that we've been working with. So we'll put a 0.05 or 500ths in there. And the T, well, it's 1. It disappears because if you multiply 500ths times 1, you still get 500ths, all right? So let's see what we're going to do. We want P by itself. So it's time, because this is multiplication. So it is time for us to divide both sides by this decimal. And this is where the calculator will become important to us. Don't go there yet, but this is going to become important to us because many times we just really aren't sure what to do when we divide by a decimal. Now we're okay usually if the decimal's on the inside, we're dividing by a whole number. When we got a decimal in the divisor, whoo, it can be tough. So let's be careful when we put this in the calculator. It's going to basically be 600 divided by 5/100ths, which is like playing with a reciprocal. So this is going to be a big number. It's going to be bigger than 600. You do know that. Everybody knows that because we got to invest some money to get the interest. So let's see. We're going to divide it by 5/100ths. Nice hit, enter. It's, woo, do you have that much you want to start with? Wow. That's the principal. That's the principal on this one. Our $12,000. $12,000, okay? And again, you can check that back by taking the 12,000 times, change that thing to a decimal, you know it is, and multiply by 1, you know it's not going to change anything, and you will get $600 back as your interest. So there, friends, whew, is a way you can figure out how much do I need to invest? How much money do I need to put in there? So those are questions we all wonder. How long? How much time? And we always know the better rate, the happier we will be, right? So you got to get in your mind of what the rate's going to be. Usually this is always going to be told to you. Your question is how much and how long. Those are the things that go in your mind to get a certain amount of interest. Let's check our next problem here. Next problem says how much time, in other words, how long, must be spent for $15,000 invested at 5%, there's our 5% again, rate to return to earn $2,250 in interest. So right there off the bat, we have our interest right there, okay? The rate of return, that's an annual rate. And folks, that 5% is important again. This time, we are missing time. How about that? This time, missing time. But it is, how much time are we looking for? That's what we're after, all right? And of course, here's our principal hanging out right there. So let's go back to the formula. Interest equals principal times rate times time, all right? And in your mind, we're going to hold this in, well, maybe a year, maybe 2, maybe 3, who knows? We're going to find out. We're going to find out. So the information that we know 2,250. Pop it in there, substitute it right there, okay? You're going to look for P? No, we got P. We got principal. Oh, goodness. So we got 15,000 right there. We also have a rate. Put it in there. Every bit you know, put it in there. Every bit of information you know, put it in there. T is what we're looking for. How much time? So let's go ahead. We're going to have to deal with this one with our calculator, I'm afraid. I would just don't make sure we're going to have right numbers here, okay? So y'all type it in there. 15,000. Be sure you put this decimal point in the right place, my friends. I've been harping on it all show, and we're going to keep telling you. And then that's where we go. Just multiply it. And that's 750. So here's where we're going to go back to the equation. We can put that 750 right there in front of our value T. That's good news to me. Now some of you are saying, Ernie, why is that good news to you? Let's go back to our calculator here. We've got 750 waiting for us here. Now we're going to take 2,250 and we're going to divide it by that 750. That's 750 there. And here we go. Because that's going to tell me how much time. And it takes us 3 years. So coming back to our answer here, our value for T is 3 years. Now notice you say, Ernie, why don't you divide? Because that number next to T has to move. I want T by itself, so I divide both sides by 750, and that's where we come up with the big 3 years. Can you check it? Certainly. Just put it right in here. If you take 15,000 times 500, we already know that's 750. 750 times 3, we're back at $2,250. So folks, that's a 3 years of simple interest that would get you to $2,250. That's not bad. That's going to make you have $17,250 there to spend. It's a nice little bonus, nice little bonus. That's what interest is all about. It's paid to you. And of course, as many of you adults will tell me out there and probably say, remind them, Ernie, they have to pay tax on interest. Yes, you do. On a tax situation, if you're on long or easy or whatever form, it counts as income, all right? So your interest is an income on the tax. So you'll get to spend most of your interest, but it will be taxed on you on down the road. So remember those things, but it's nice to have it because it's nice bonus money. You don't have to pay at least all of it back. You pay a percentage of that also. Man, is the world run on percentages or what is it? I tell you. Let's take a look at our next problem here. This one says, how much simple interest is earned by investing $2,000 for 8 months at a 3% return? And we're going to say that's a rate of return for annual, okay? So let's go back to our formula again. That seems to be what we're doing a lot today, but I want you to get used to it. Principal times the rate times time. It's very interesting because it is. It's just working the same kind of problems over and over here again. This time we're back in, oh, they gave us months. Gave us months. Ernie, why don't you do that? And I even changed the percentage of return. Probably a little more reasonable, but that's still not bank income yet. Fortunately, we're getting about 1% from our banks if we get that much, and that's on a good day. 2,000 is what we're investing. All right, so let's take a look. We are looking for interest. That's the question right there. What is the interest? How much simple interest do we earn? Okay. Now, let's plug in our numbers. Let's substitute. We've got I, because we don't know what it is. That's what we're looking for, right? So we're going to put in the 2,000. That is our principal. 2,000. Our rate, we're running a little more paltry, but be sure that zero gets in there or you're going to be giving yourself a lot more money than the bank will or any stock will. And 8 months. Now remember, it's all based on years, so don't put an 8 there. You're going to have a big bad trouble, all right? What we need to do there is make the fractional part 8 out of 12. 8 out of 12. That's 2/3. That's going to be 2/3. And you look at that and say, ooh, Ernie, you got a fraction. That's okay. We had one early. We did 1/2, but it was easy to make a decimal. Don't make the mistake some of my people do that they will sit there and say, oh, that's 6/10. Or to write 0.6, type it in. You're losing some of your interest because actually this is a decimal with a 6 repeating after it. So 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, it goes on and on with 6s until you finally hit the last key. You say, well, put a 7 on it finally. But what we're going to do, we're going to use it as a fraction because I notice we can get some cancellation. Just put that decimal, that 3% part, that 3/100ths, put it over 1, and we'll just pretend this thing's over 1 while we're at it. We can get a little cancellation, my friends. This 3 will go away, but this will become 1/100th. Do not forget to cancel that or you once again will be misled on how much money you're going to make for interest. So it looks like we're ready to run a typing on this one. So let's see what we've got. And we're going to make sure we get our decimal places in the right. So we got 2,000. I see that. You all see that too, I hope. We're going to multiply it by 100th. That's not a lot, folks. That's going to just kind of wheedle that thing down. But it's still going to give us a little bit of positive money. And we do get to pick up 2 back in there. Multiply by 2. We get, $40. But remember, that's not a full year. That's not a lot of time. It's not a big rate of increase of return either. You're only increasing by 3%, all right? So that's not a large amount. It's not a large amount. And this certainly is not helping you by just keeping it there just 2/3 of a year and say, hey, I'm done. So you've got to remember, like I said, the rate, a high rate is good. A high amount of time helps you out too, especially if things are going in the positive direction for growth, all right? So those are your main things that you're looking for here, all right? Now, one last quick problem here. Let's see what we got here. Let's go straight to the formula. You know we're using it. This time we're looking for how much money? We're looking for principal. And I'm going to let you read through it and see if y'all can set it up in your own there, and then we'll do it real quickly. You're going to get $300 interest. Put it right in there. There's the 300. How much money? P, we do not know. Ugh, it's not a good rate, is it? And we're going to keep it in there 1 year. So this one's going to be pretty straightforward. We're just going to keep it in for annual interest, 1 year of interest at 300. I think this is going to have to be a pretty large amount. Let's check and see. First of all, these are easy to multiply. So let's just sit there and make it 2/100ths times P. And over here we got 300. Now remember what happens. It's a division moment here. and divide both sides. Use that division property of equality to your advantage. And now you're ready to type in, let's hit the calculator. Goodbye to that last problem. We've got 300, and we're going to divide by 2%, or basically 2/100ths. And that's going to send us into a pretty, ooh, goodness sakes, folks. Wow. Your principal, $15,000. All that trouble just to get $300. Woo! That's why I say rate, time. Very important elements of doing interest. Very interesting indeed. I hope it was. All about interest today, all right? Simple interest. Like I said, we're going to do compound interest one of these days. It's a great show. It's about when it grows, and every year you get interest upon your interest. And that's a way you really build your money in a better manner. And folks, you spent your time wisely today learning about interest and watching Mathline. Hope you'll be back again tomorrow, because you know it's a pretty exceptional day. Every day is exceptional on Mathline, but check us out then.